What's up, everybody? Sidras here with another Dissidia of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and today I'm going to do my video how-to guide for how to Lilisette. I am super excited today to be able to get to do this. So I'm a long-time Final Fantasy XI player, so I'm a big fan of the character in general. She came out with, one of the latter expansions, Final Fantasy XI, and in terms of her kit in this game, she works well in a lot of party compositions, and I think she's a really strong unit. Not the strongest unit, but really fun to work with, and you can make a lot of successful parties with her. So I'm going to go ahead and get started talking about her kit, and since I'm going to gush on her a little bit, let's start this out with the reasons why maybe you wouldn't want to run her, or the reasons that she's not the strongest unit. And then I'll get into, why I'm such a big fan. So first off, she is a support unit who does not heal, right? So anytime you're putting a party together, if there's going to be some healing needed in the fight, you kind of like to get your healer and your support kind of in the same unit. That way you can do whatever you want with the other two units. She does not heal, so that's sort of a strike against her. Second one, I think, is just in terms of damage itself. She's on the low end even for a support. In terms of brave damage, hit point damage, she doesn't do a lot. She's not a hard hitter. So I would say that's sort of strike 2 against her. And then I would say sort of strike 3 if you we're looking for reasons not to run her. Even individually, her buffs, and I'll go over this one once we get into the actual kit itself, are not the strongest. So for instance, she has a 45% aura for her attack. That's really middle of the road in terms of how much she can impact your party's attack stat. So with that out of the way, let me get into why I absolutely love Lilisette. I think that her kit is one of the most well put together that's in the game right now, and she tends to be better than the sum of her parts. And let me go over why. So she really does 3 things for your party. She's a buffer, she's a debuffer, and she's a battery. And when I say she is the battery, she is an excellent battery. Literally all 5 of her skills, whenever she does them, batteries the party, and most of the batteries are really potent and based off of her max brave. So if you look here, her S1 Whirling Edge, it raises her teammates, or raises her allies' brave by 50% of the damage dealt, and before it does that, it raises her brave by 50% of her max brave. So it doesn't do any brave damage. It raises her brave by 50% of her max brave, and then turns around and gives the damage dealt 50% battery to the party. So this is a really strong battery, and it also puts a 4-turn speed down on the enemy. So that's where the debuffing comes in. Sensual Dances are S2. It is a attack down, magic attack down, and a sap. And when I say sap, it literally takes their brave and gives it to her. Really potent self-battery, if there's more than, especially if there's multiple units on the field that you're fighting against. Again, potent battery here, 60% of own max brave. It's massive. And keep in mind, max brave goes up during a summon, so she tends to be a pretty useful support even during the summon. Now, one of the unique things about her is she not only brings max brave overflow, so her EX here, the Rousing Samba and Dancer's Fury, so again we're doing a potent battery, 50% of max brave, but it also gives 50%, it does 20% overflow, but she also has her all boost up, which is her C65, which also gives 10% more overflow. So she's basically giving your party 20% overflow all of the time, and then situationally another 10% for 30%. Again, really useful during summons, really useful for units who are constantly capping their max brave and can benefit from that overflow. Now, when it comes to her EX Plus, I'm going to talk about the 1 out of 3 here. So if you're going to use her as a budget support, you're going to want 1 out of 3. So if you're like, hey, I want to invest in her, but I don't want to spend all of the ingots, you don't want to leave her at 0 out of 3. You got to bring her to 1. And the reason being, it completes her role as a party battery. So it gives her Brave Attack plus a battery of 20% of her own max brave. So if she's sitting at, 30,000, that's a 6K per person battery to the party. And it turns her HP damage her HP++, to also give battery 20% of the damage dealt. So once you've got her 1 out of 3, no matter what button you press when it's Lilisette turn, you're giving your party battery. Now, the reason that she is so good is because, right, so we talk a lot about stacking buffs, right? You want to stack stuff because at some point it goes from not being that useful until you have enough of it, and it is useful. Well, what does she do to your party? So if you look here at her auras and stuff that she gets, so notice she's way down here when you sort it by attack, right? So, and by the way, this here is the supports our cool spreadsheet that Cobracai keeps a great job updating. I use it for all my data when I'm trying to analyze units. The link will be in the description. But if you scroll over here to the auras, right? So she is giving 45% to your attack, 35% to your max brave, but she also has the generic max brave buff here for 40. She does your eye brave. She's also doing defense and speed. So if you remember, she puts the enemy speed down with her S1, right? So at the same time she's increasing your party speed, she's decreasing your enemy speed. She's literally creating a turn advantage for you. Defense up 25%. If you remember, her S2 also gives attack down and magic attack down if it's a magic attacking enemy, which in case she's even more potent. But your defense is going up, their attacks coming down. The combination of that is you literally take considerably less brave damage. Impacts that. Additionally, everything she touches is a battery, right? So she's battering up your party while reducing the amount of damage that they're taking. She basically enables tankless fights. I just completed the Soulcage Chaos fight with her. My party, I didn't use a tank, my party took 1 break the entire 100 turns or whatever it was. So she's really good at that. So she's giving you a turn advantage, she's reducing the amount of damage that you take, and she comes with Brave Overflow, right? You know what works really well with Brave Overflow? Battery. Because you need to be able to get the Brave up high enough to take advantage of it. So she gives your team a turn advantage, she reduces the amount of damage that's incoming, and she batteries them up so you can take advantage of the overflow that she's giving you. So the combination of those 3 things makes her a really, really good unit in my mind. So budget-wise, 1 out of 3. You know, but I'm playing her at 3 out of 3. Just because, right, you get the extra stats, you get her buff Rousing Samba from the beginning of the fight. She does give your party critical hit rate 100%. You know, that helps maybe the early fight go a little bit better because you do more damage, you know, while the enemy still has Brave and isn't broken. But I would say that's pretty minor. The big thing is, you know, the overflow buff that you get from the Rousing Samba. So that's kind of her kit. What I try and do is, you know, if she's low on Brave, use the Brave plus, right? And then try to do the HP plus when her Brave is higher, because the damage that you do from that is going to then battery the party more. So at low Brave, the Brave plus is going to do more battery, but at higher Braves, you know, the HP plus is going to do more battery. So you kind of got to keep an eye on that. And, you know, you're watching the turn count. You're looking to see, you know, when your unit, when your teammates are being attacked, because ideally, if the turn's working right, you know, she goes between them and the enemy, right? So that they can just dump all their, you know, Brave on their turn. She can do whatever it is you want to do at the given time, and then, you know, they're safe. And so she does that a lot. So in terms of her artifacts, as you can tell, she does get the, you know, the C50, the Moonshade Butterfly. You need 3 of these, right? So her individual, you know, buffs aren't the greatest, but she's got so many of them. Literally every single stat in the game, she's increasing. So this is, you're going to want 3 of these. After that, your priority number 1 is Max Brave. The reason being, she's not much of an attacker. I mean, her HP plus has 1 attack. Her Rousing Samba has, it's a, you know, it's a 6-7 hit by the time you 3 out of 3 it, but it's not that potent. She's not an attacker. On the other hand, every single one of her batteries is based on Max Brave. So I would so you definitely want C50s, and then I would prioritize Max Brave after that, and then attack after that. So that's how I would do that. So 1 out of 3 for budget, 3 out of 3 if you want to go with her, you know, full time and use her more often and make her stronger. And you'll want the C50 and Max Brave as her artifacts. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about what are some party comps that would go, that she would work in. So, I said she wasn't a healer. So, here's one that I like, right? So Locke's coming up here in in a couple weeks. He is a unique unit, and he's a DPS that heals, right? Makes a great partner for Lilisette, because you don't have to use another support to cover the healing. And then because she's a little bit unique in that she's got all of that max brave overflow that she gives, 20% full time and then the extra 10%, she goes well with units who can take advantage of that. And one unit that really takes advantage of overflow is Squall, right? Because he has really high hitting ability counts, high potencies. So especially with the battery, he's going to take advantage of that. It turns the, Renzo Kukens are going to be stronger. So Squall is really good for that. So notice in this party here, I'm rocking Bahamut as the summon, so we can get some extra battery from Locke. So this is a really nice party, and but you could really just keep the Lilisette and Locke and put your DPS unit of choice here. There's a lot of folks that can work in that. I've got Squall built up now, so that's probably what I'll be running after Locke is released. And other options, so this is one that I love here. So she makes a great combo with Ramza to really pump the heck out of a DPS unit who does not have their own generic attack or max brave buff. So Sephiroth is on that list, Ultimisia is on that list, Null is on that list, right? Because they're going to take full advantage of this. The reason this is so potent is if you look here, so this is the buff list. If you notice, so Lilisette has a max brave generic buff, but she doesn't give the attack one, right? All of her attack comes from aura. On the other hand, if you look at Ramza, he has an attack buff generic, but all of his max brave buff, 60%, comes from aura. So they work together like puzzle pieces, right? You're getting literally the maximum amount of both of them. Additionally, they both pump iBrave, and Ramza is giving a party regen for brave regen based on iBrave. So your unit that you put here is going to have a really potent regen, going to be hitting hard as a truck. The reason I chose Sephiroth when he comes up here, but again, this is just any DD that really doesn't have the generic attack and max brave, but he's got a speed down aura, so this is going to further take advantage of the turn advantage that Lilisette's giving you on her own, heighten it even more, and then going with the turn advantage theme here, we're rocking Shiva in this party, right? So this would be a really strong party. Downside here, no healing, right? Lilisette, because of the battery she gives in your defenses, she really is an enabler of non-tank parties. That being said, I do want to highlight one way that she does work really well with a tank, and that's this party here. So as Chaos moves on, Warrior of Light, his shields don't get weaker, but enemies hit harder, so that shield doesn't last as long, right? He loses a little bit of viability as we move on. One way to extend him out is to put Lilisette in the party. So because of what we talked about earlier with the defenses going up, the enemy attacks going down, it reduces the amount of brave damage, which makes Warrior Light shield better. In addition, she does have some iBrave buffs, so his shield is stronger, and it's going to last a lot longer because you're going to be taking less brave damage. Now, you've got her auras, his auras, who works great with a whole bunch of auras, and that's Ultimisia. So this party right here will be a really strong and safe way to use Ultimisia. I would imagine as long as you're not locked out for anything, so whether it be magic damage that would mess with Ultimisia, or Lilisette, her buffs are all generic buffs, so that's something to keep in mind. So if an enemy is immune to generic buffs, then that's probably not a fight you're going to take Lilisette to. But so this is 3 different ways that you can use the Lilisette in really effective parties that synergize well together. Again, I'm not saying she is the strongest unit out there or the best support that we're ever going to get. She's not, but man, is she good, and she is sort of fun to play with and build parties around. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little gameplay here. So I'm queuing up Fang's Cosmos battle. I don't want to take a lot of time doing this, and the purpose of this is not to win the fight. I want to highlight some things specifically about Lilisette, show it to you with a little bit of sort of in-game play. So I'm going to use this party here, the one where we're using Locke as the healer. And so one of the things that you'll notice with her is she only has 6 ability counts on her S1 and S2, and the duration of the debuffs on both is I think it's like 6 turns on the sensual dance, right? So if you see here, all targets 6 turns attack down. If you look at the whirling edge, 4 turns speed down. So she doesn't have the longest duration debuffs, and she's only got 6 counts. So a lot of times you're watching the the actual debuff itself and taking a look to see exactly when they're coming. They're going to be end, and you're going to probably want to wait till a turn or two. So she uses her Brave and HP plus a lot. So notice here, right? This is perfect way to use. Right, Locke is being attacked right here. He's going to take a break next turn. No, he's not. Right? We got a weak enemy here. She just batteried him up. His defense is up from her aura, and didn't take a break. All she did was HP attack. She would have done that anyway, right? So now, watch Locke here. So she's got 23k Brave, and I intentionally took her outside of a fight where she was synergy, and so you can kind of see real stats. So we're going to get her buff up, and look, he's now at 17k. I also want you to watch this sap on the enemy's turn, right? So see this sap right here? On Lilisette's turn, she's going to get 28, or I'm sorry, on the enemy's turn, she's going to get 2800 Brave. I'm just going to mug here so you can see it. So watch her. See 2845? So keep in mind there's just one enemy here, but if you have multiple enemies, that can come in handy and really help keep herself safe when she's dumping her own Brave, right? She's getting it back on their turns. So, so right now, if you look, she has Rousing Samba up. So watch, right? So even though Renzo Kukin does not cap, right? So normally you would just see a 38k max. Instead, you're going to see this, hit into the low to mid 40s. 46k, right? That's all Lilisette right there. That might save you a turn on an early wave, depending on the amount of hit points that they have. Alright, so these guys, they kind of like to buff themselves. So we're going to go ahead and let them buff themselves, and then we're going to use her to push them off. So we don't want to waste the sensual dance yet, right? Because we know that what they're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and... She's got 21k Brave, so we'll just go ahead and do an HP attack. I do want to get to the summon here, but we're not going to do the whole fight. Alright, so now they're all buffed up, right? So they got 5 buffs. Her turn. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do that, right? Everybody's batteried up. They just go from 0 to 18k. Again, we're not talking small amounts of battery here. It's potent. And then we're going to go ahead and... Don't matter, I'm just going to break him. Again, 46k down from 38. And then this is going to, hit stronger too. The overflow here matters. So now that they have that on, I'm going to put on sort of the other buff, right? So now you want to get their speed down so you can actually start to get the turn advantage. We haven't put it on yet. Notice when I do that, I'm at 28k, 14k battery for everybody. Again, all of her units, all of her skills have really potent batteries associated with them. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and summon on her turn, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and... What's he doing? He's attacking everybody, so... Mug. Alright, so a lot of times... So remember, when you do this, your Brave Overflow is now 30%. So Rousing Samba already has 200% overflow, so it's sitting at 230. So whenever you do the extra damage from Bahamut, she's going to get about as high as you can get here. So because she's such a potent battery and they're based on Max Brave, she's not necessarily one of the units that you're going to want to pull out during your summon. She's actually pretty effective in the summon. So 50% of Max Brave right now, she's sitting at 32. So in addition to doing, you know, this will probably do 70k damage. In addition to that, she's also going to be giving everybody 50% of her Max Brave. So she's going to battery up for 16k. How strong this is going to be. 65k, right? And that's on a unit that doesn't have his own Max Brave Overflow. This might hit 200k. 180. Alright, so now, probably going to Whirling Edge here, because again, it's going to be a nice battery. It's going to be based on the damage. She's already got 6k Brave. It's going to battery up another 18. So 18 plus 6 is 24. So 12k battery while doing the damage here. So you can see here, she's got her debuffs on still. And notice there's still 5 and 4 turns. So now what you're pretty much going to be doing on her is riding out her Brave and her HP plus, right? So no matter what I do right now, right? So Squall is going to be attacked next, right? No matter what I do, Squall is going to be safe because anything is going to give him enough Brave. Now I only have 7k, so instead of just using a one-hit and dumping that, I'm just going to go ahead and Brave plus, and then I'll dump that on the next turn, right? When I'll get 20% of the damage being done of this 21k. Notice, just like the plan, he is safe. You know, it's now his turn. So, one of the things I wanted to do after last fight was not make this video 20 minutes. So I am going to go ahead and stop it here again. I wasn't trying to show, you know, an entire fight. The goal was really just to kind of show you how to use Lilisette and talk about her kit a little bit. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section here. Did you like the video? Was it helpful? Anything you'd like me to do differently? If you watched my Null video last time, did you like this better, or did you prefer kind of how I formatted that one? So let me know, and good luck in game, everybody.